Hey everybody, I'm here today to share with you a recent video that I watched. At my school, we have business management classes that put on something called Kindness Week, and it's a fantastic event that's been put on by one of the teachers there, Ms. Prasad. Kindness Week is a student initiative that focuses on promoting kindness and mental health in the school and the community. And they put on various events, and it's a fantastic week, and I absolutely love it. And one of the events they put on is called YMCI Talks. And what they do is they go out and get speakers to come in and have something like a TED Talk. Sometimes the speakers are graduates of the school, or they could be leaders in their profession or in their community. And they come in and talk about various topics. They have amazing speakers come in like Faisal Kamisa, Rebecca Churchyard, and Kyle Rose, to name a few, and a lot more. So one of the speakers really touched me, and what he said was very powerful and really resonated with the message I try to get across to my students. His name is Drew Dudley, and he's actually even done a few TED Talks. One of his most popular one was something called Leading with Lollipops, and I would highly recommend you check out his talks. And so I just want to share the talk that he had at YMCI Talks, because as I said, I think it was really powerful, and it really sent a message that I think a lot of students would benefit from, and even you know, people that are outside of school now, the adults and maybe in their working life. It's a very powerful message, and I really think that it's something that everyone should hear, and I just want to share it with you right now.
Hey everybody from YMCI Talks. I'm Drew Dudley, and I wish I could be with you here today. I had such a blast last year, but I am currently on a world tour, and right now, as you can see, I am in Alaska, and it is freezing here. So there's a possibility that I will mess up some of the words that I'm speaking because my tongue is frozen. But I wanted to share a story with you today about a woman named Allison. So for about 10 years, I ran the leadership development program at U of T. And I brought in a woman named Allison to tell a story and give a lecture to my students. And Allison had actually ridden her bike all the way across Canada, from Victoria all the way to Newfoundland. And what she was doing is she was collecting the stories of women who had battled and beaten breast cancer. Because she said when her mother was diagnosed with breast cancer, hearing the stories of other women is what saved her life. And she said, I want to collect these stories, put them into a book, and make sure that women on the day they are diagnosed in this country, and it's 1 in 5 Canadian women, have a chance to read this book and share these stories. And so I brought her in to tell this story. 6 months of her life, most of it alone, an incredible physical task. And she did it. And as she's telling this story to my students, I'm watching her become, in their eyes, what she actually is. A woman to look up to and a person to emulate. And then at the end of the presentation, one of my students raises his hand and he asks, what school did you go to? And I'm like, who cares? Like somehow what she says is valid only if she went to a good enough university? And Allison looks out and she laughs and she goes, a better question would be, what school didn't I go to? Like, look, I dropped out from 3 different colleges and universities because none of them gave me exactly what I was looking for. And I'm going to keep making changes in my life until it's the life I want and the life that I deserve. And you know what? Finally, I found the right place. I got 2 different degrees, but I dropped out 3 times to find it. And when the way my students reacted to that response fundamentally messed with me, because I watched Allison go, in their eyes, too many of their eyes, from being someone to look up to a cautionary tale. They looked at her like she had done something wrong because she was willing to say dropping out was a part of what I needed to do to figure out where I was going. And it was in that moment that I realized how incredibly powerful the list is. Like, I realized that in all of our heads, there is a list of the things that we think we need to do for our life to be considered a success. There's a list of things that we're trying to check off so that we feel like we haven't wasted our talents. There's a list of things that we feel we have to check off and accomplish in our lives so that we are not in some way letting down all the people who love us. And what I worry about is that we're letting all of you believe that any deviation from this list, no matter how amazing, no matter how exciting, no matter how perfect for you, is reckless and foolish and stupid. Because yeah, there's lots of ways you can be successful in this world, but there's a guaranteed way if you're just willing to follow the list and put in the work. And what I worry about is that the list that all of us are using to run our lives and to make our decisions looks a lot like this. This is what we're all trying to do. Go to kindergarten and play nice. Go to elementary school and do what the teacher tells you. Go to high school so you can go to a really good university, which usually means do what the teacher tells you. Then go to university so you can get a really good job. Get a really good job. Get promoted. Get yourself into a serious long-term relationship. Get promoted. Get married. Get promoted. Buy a house. Get promoted. Have kids. Get promoted a couple more times. And then make sure your kids do exactly the same thing. And I worry that we're all treating our life like some sort of giant scavenger hunt. And we're all handed that list at the very beginning. And we're told, look, race to check off as many of these things as you can. Because everybody else is doing the same thing. And if you don't get there first, there's not going to be anything left for you. And I was one of those people who bought into that game. And I loved that list because early on in my life, I was told, Drew, you have the ability to destroy that list. So we expect that from you. And is there any worse feeling than feeling like you're letting down the people who love you the most? And so I killed myself for that list. And then one day, I think I'm 25 years old, and I had probably the most terrifying, but at the same time liberating day in my life. Because I was kicking myself because I hadn't checked something off the list that I was supposed to have done by the time I'm 25. And I was really upset. And for that first day, for the first time in my life, I looked down at that list and I realized that I hadn't written it. It was somebody else's list. I was living my life according to somebody else's agenda. And look, I don't know what list you're using to make the decisions in your life. I don't know what list of things exists in your head that you feel you have to check off so that your life is worthwhile, so that you feel you're not letting anybody down. But I will tell you this, whatever that list in your head is, make sure you wrote it. Make sure it's not your parents or your teachers or your big brothers or big sisters or what you think society expects from you. Because if you spend your life chasing a list of other people's goals, you will always feel unfulfilled somehow. But I know that we don't really teach you that. I know that for most of your life, you've been probably told if you just work hard enough, it'll all pay off in the end. If you just work hard enough, it'll all pay off in the end. My problem after all my years in education is this. We never really told you how hard is hard enough, do we? And we never really told you. We didn't help you enough figuring out what you wanted the payoff to be, and we never told you when the end will arrive. So we've got all these amazing students like you chasing this undefined goal on an undefined timeline. And I think it makes too many amazing students just like you feel that there's something wrong with them or they're doing something wrong with their lives. Look, if you just work hard enough, it'll all pay off in the end. I think it's best to have truth. And the problem is this, it makes so many young people just like you believe that what your teachers think of you and that what your potential future employers think of you is somehow more important than what you think about yourself. And it makes thousands of young people just like you believe the entire purpose of education is to figure out what the market wants, learn it, and then turn around and offer it right back to the market, regardless of whether it has anything to do with what you love, anything to do with what makes you feel alive, anything to do with what you're truly gifted at. And worst of all, it makes all of the artists and the musicians and the dancers and the actors and the entrepreneurs and the change agents and every one of you in that room whose brilliance cannot be measured on essays and tests, it makes all of you think that your gifts aren't gifts at all. They're only gifts if one day they can be monetized. Otherwise, they should just be hobbies. And I wonder how old some of you were before you started to think, oh, I'm not very good at filling out this list. Or how old some of you were before, oh my God, this list is what everyone expects from me, so I better live up to it. Like some of you were 8 years old. Like how different would society be if we stopped doing that to 8-year-olds? There's 4 truths about education that I've come to believe in my work. I want to share them with you here. And if they resonate with you, I want you to share them with other people. Here's 4 fundamental truths about life and leadership in school that I believe in. 1, you are way more brilliant than you give yourself credit for. And you're way more brilliant than any test we can ever give you will ever allow you to truly show. 2, school is the last place that you will spend time in your life where the ability to do well on a test is valued more than the ability to actually do something, or to help someone, or to change something. And there are so many more rewards in this society for being able to do things, change things, and help people than there are for writing tests. You owe it to yourself that when you finish your education, you're as good at doing things, changing things, and helping people as you are at writing tests. Because one day we'll stop giving them to you. And the only tests that'll really matter are the ones that you choose to give to yourself. 3, Success in leadership cannot be measured by money and job titles. And straight A's are not going to get you a direct path to either one of those things. Success in leadership comes from striving to act every day in a way that makes it more likely you'll have a positive impact on your own life and on the lives of other people. And finally, you should work incredibly hard to make your grades extraordinary. Your grades will open doors for you. Your grades will kick down doors for you. Look, your transcript, your report card is an incredibly important part of your life, but it's not a measure of your worth as a human being. And I've watched for years amazing, caring, brilliant young people somehow start to believe that because they're a C student, they're also a C person. Commit yourself to never allowing yourself to think that, and never allow someone who you know is a person of worth to think less of themselves as a human being because a number or a letter that appeared in the top right-hand corner of a piece of paper. Look, you should work incredibly hard to make your grades extraordinary. But what I wish was written in 15-foot letters on the wall of every single school in the world: work incredibly hard to make your grades extraordinary. And then work twice as hard to make sure that they are the least impressive thing about you. If you make that the purpose of education, if you make that your goal when you go through school, I think success is going to follow you all the days of your life. I wish you all so much more than luck. And from Alaska, have a great rest of the day. Thanks so much.
So that was a great video by Drew. I think two things that really resonated with me were when he started talking about the list. I started reflecting on my life and the list that I have. And I realized the exact same thing that he realized, that as I was going through high school and even into my university career, I was following a list that somebody else had written for me, either my parents or society, and I tricked myself into believing that's what I actually wanted. And when I realized that, it was a powerful moment, because you come to a point where, okay, you're at the crossroads. What am I going to do? Am I going to accept it? Or am I going to persevere and say, no, this is what I want, and fight for what you want? And so I was able to say, you know what, no, I want to do this with my life, and I want to travel, and I want to make a difference in the world that isn't measured by my paycheck. And so I took control of my life, and now living the life I want to live exactly the way I want to. See, the thing about that list is that whether you write it or somebody else writes it for you, your worthiness is not tied to it. You are not a better person or valued more because you've checked off more boxes. You're already worthy just by the sheer fact that you're alive, that you're a human being on this planet, and that you contribute to the best that you can. And nothing on that list will ever take that away from you. And so that was one thing that was really powerful. The second thing was the last sentence in the talk: work hard to make your grades extraordinary, but then work twice as hard to make them the least impressive thing about you. And I think that really speaks to the fact that you need to develop your character more than your grades. A caring, understanding, loving person is valued more than a person that has just good grades, because you eventually have to go into the world, and the way you treat somebody is much more important than whether you got a 90 in calculus. And I know that it's really hard to believe that at this moment, because those marks are going to get you opportunities in university, but not getting into a university or not getting into the program that you want is not the end of the world. And it's that myopic view that deters an individual from success coming to them. If you put in the hard work, the success will come. If you focus so much just on the success and not on the work, that's when it eludes you. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Any comments or questions, leave them in the comment section below. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.